Hi everyone, here is a ridiculously in depth review of Bridgerton Season 4, Volume 1. Okay, let the record show that this is my ranking of all the pairings I've seen so far. Number 1, Kate and Anthony, of course. Number 2, Daphne and Simon. Number 3, Benedict and Sophie, but I think they can move up to number 2. And everybody else in the show, and then Colin and Penelope. So, a very quick intro. This is the fourth season based on a series of books by the same name of the same family. And this season talks about the second brother, Benedict. So, the whole family is named alphabetically: Anthony, Benedict, Colin, Daphne, Eloise, Francesca, Gregory, and Hyacinth. So we're done with Anthony in the second season, we're done with Daphne in the first season, we're done with Colin in the third season. Now we're gonna do Benedict. That was weird. But yeah, so this is Benedict season, and what we know about Benedict so far is that Benedict is a very artistic guy. He explores a lot. He's very open with his sexuality. He is also an established bisexual in the show. So earlier people were confused whether they were going to kind of flip the character and whether Sophie was actually going to be, Sofa. No. He also has a very charming personality. He was my favorite brother right off the bat in the beginning. I think because they chose such a likable actor to play that role. And in the books, he is not like that. In the books, he is kind of like a cheap imitation of Anthony, where he does have anger issues, but you don't really know why he has anger issues and what he does. But they have written it a much better in the show. You do like the character much more here. Benedict's love interest is Sophie Beck. He doesn't know that Sophie Beck is the lady that he's looking for. It is a whole insta love sort of a vibe, love at first sight, where he sees a lady in a masquerade ball that he doesn't know. He falls in love with her, then he tries to look for her. He does not find her, but then he starts developing feelings for a man in the working class. But of course, haha, who? It is the same girl, just that he doesn't know yet. Now we'll get into the episodes one by one. The first one starts with the masquerade party at the Bridgerton's place. We see how Violet is finally focusing on Benedict because now she wants him to get married off. She wants him to return to society. At the masquerade ball, Benedict sees this girl. She's the lady in silver. She's wearing a mask, and what draws him to her is that she's looking at everything in complete awe. So here the book also says that a lot of men come up to her and compliment her, and she doesn't act coy or make it seem like part of a pretense. She's actually genuinely pleased, and that adds to her overall allure of how she is so delighted by everything she's seeing and so enamored by everything. Then we have the terrace scene. They both meet each other, they have good conversation. I think the show did a good job here, making both of them seem likable instead of being very cringy. And given that they were trying to show this love at first sight, insta love sort of a thing, it's very important that the conversation doesn't become very corny. And in the books, Benedict is mostly problematic, but in the show, Benedict is shown as such a charming person. He has a light air about everything, and you just like him overall. We see a very good conversation among them. We see them connecting, and it's kind of like the other way. Like, we see that Benedict is an artist. He is the one observing others, and he actually does get enamored by a lot of women that he's met in the past seasons as well. So it's not a big deal that he's enamored by Sophie here. But what is different is that here she turns the spotlight on him, she kind of notices him, and then he's finally able to talk about it. I also feel the camera work and everything in the season is much like the first two seasons. I feel in the third season they had a bit of a deviation from the original Bridgerton vibes, the set design, and everything. So I really love what they have done here. And can I just take a minute to talk about the music? So there is a version of Enchanted by Taylor Swift that plays in the show, and that has my heart. Like, that was one of my favorite songs growing up as well. And to hear that in the show, it was a treat. So yeah, good job overall on the set, costume design, music, everything. Now coming to their first interaction, then in the second episode, we actually get to see who the lady in silver is, her background. She has a Cinderella like situation going on. Here, I really like the rest of the staff in the show that works with her in Cho Chang's place. In the second episode, we also see Benedict and Eloise trying to get together and help each other out. In the previous seasons, we have seen Benedict and Eloise do have a sort of a good equation going on among all the other brothers and sisters itself. They're very close to each other. They understand each other. And Eloise also talks about it, that I thought both of us decide that we will not be a part of all the marriage and the routine life that everybody else gets into. But here, when she sees Benedict is so involved and he really wants to find the lady in silver, she starts to help him. Also, really love to see what's happening with Eloise this season. Like, her expressions are on point. So we do see a lot of Benedict going and meeting everybody. He's literally trying to put a filter in front of all of the ladies' lips and see whether they are the same or not. Here I was a little irritated as to, she's Asian, her skin tone, you have seen her hair. Why are you not even trying to look at women of the similar build? Like, you're just comparing anyone and everyone that you meet blindly. And the second thing here, which I felt was a little underwhelming, was that the season starts with the Whistledown saying that her and the Queen have a bet on whether Benedict will get married or not, and whether he will finally be in the market or not. With that being said, I was expecting like a lot of fanfare from the people of the town trying to get his attention, because and the Bridgertons like the most desirable in their society. So I was expecting to see more of that. There could have been more funny moments of people just trying to get his attention, but the kind of reception he got from the crowd, even when him and Eloise were walking in the town, was lukewarm or the same, to say the least. I mean, it could have been any other normal day. So we also see a very cute scene of Benedict trying to figure out who the lady in silver is. He's shown as such a nice guy. He talks to Posey because even Cho Chang kind of treats her cruelly in front of Benedict. So just to show her as well that no, he wants to talk to Posey, not the other one who even he is treating a little poorly. So I liked that overall. And in the show, Posey is kind of is such a sweet character. I mean, I really like that they did not do the whole Cinderella thing, but where they were both two evil stepsisters. And if you think about it, if you go into the past, we also see Cho Chang's entry to the family, how she was actually so sweet to notice Sophie in the first place when she was entering the manor, and then when she found out that she is his child, she becomes cold all of a sudden. And even now, I don't see her and see an evil stepmother. I can't put my finger on it. Like, she doesn't seem, she's definitely not as bad as Penelope's mom, as and how cruel she was to Penelope. So for me, that is the standard of like bad parenting, like a bad mother. So she does not bridge that. Either I don't know, either maybe the character is shown to be a grey character, they'll not make her as evil as they did make her in the books, or it could just be lackluster writing. Then we see Sophie being kicked out on her ass when Cho Chang. I'm not gonna stop calling her Cho Chang. To me, she is still Cho Chang. But yeah, Sophie gets thrown on her ass out of the house when she discovers that it was her who wore her shoes and went out, and who's actually captured Benedict's heart. She finds a place outside the city, the town, whatever. She finds a place. She finds a job. Good for her. Benedict ends up at a party right while she's working. The person who's throwing the party tries to SA one of the maids. Sophie comes in to protect her, and then when they're about to attack Sophie, Benedict sees this. He steps in, he beats them up, and he saves her. And he finally offers to drop her to the city, and he says that he'll help her find a job. And you can see that Sophie has realized who he is. She remembers him, but he can't quite put her, he does not recognize her firstly, and she is definitely hurt by that. You do see that. However, it is not completely careless. Like Benedict does say, did you remind me of somebody? Have we met somewhere? Did you work in one of the houses that I've been to? So he does try to kind of make a connection, but of course he's not able to, because he's not able to see her in that light yet. Then they get into the carriage ride. Now, what I love about the carriage ride, it was a long, kind of awkward ride at beginning, and I really like that, because I feel these type of interactions and conversations actually help us see how the relationship is being built. And yeah, like let the audience see what's happening. I mean, let me give you an example. In season 3, we don't see much of Colin and Penelope's backstory. We rarely see any of their like childhood instances. Even in the show, Violet is like, Colin, you're always somebody who puts everybody else's happiness in front of their own. Let me see that. Don't just say that. Let me see that and root for the character. So I felt that that was done here in this season, and they did not do it in season 3. I think I'm so frustrated with season 3 that this will become a rant video about season 3. But anyway, fine. Coming back to the point. Where were we? We were in the carriage. In the carriage, they're talking. Sophie is clearly very smart. I really, you know what? Can I just say one thing? Out of a lot of the love interests for the Bridgerton brothers, of course, I love Kate. But Sophie, they have given us such a rich background. We really get to know who she is. We get to know her character. Sophie has been written, enacted, and shown very well. She's been shown in such a way that you actually like her. Even if she was not Benedict's love interest, even if she was just one of the side characters, I think we would have still liked Sophie because of how she was written, her nuances, her relationships with everybody around her, right? So overall, I did like that. They finally end up to his cottage, my cottage, which is humongous to say the least. So they end up at my cottage, and Benedict is in a stupor. He's in a fever sort of a state, and she comes in and bandages him up. And in that state, he says, "Kiss me, kiss me, kiss me." Now, in the book, she does kiss him, and I'm like, dubious consent, but whatever. But here, they don't do anything like that, thank God. So, yeah, and then we see Benedict and Sophie just get some time together, uh, get to know each other. The whole scene with the kite flying, like those little moments that really that help you root for a couple. So I did kind of like that, and I really liked the way the crab trees were written. You could actually see that they were a staff that has worked with them for a long time, that has been there, and I really liked how they were showing those things. Now, the last episode is actually the name of the book, which is An Offer from a Gentleman. And can I talk about this offer? Okay, let me hold my horses. So we see Benedict and Sophie connect for a week or so. Then Benedict gets all better. They get back to the city, and she finally realizes that the house that he has got her a job in is none other than the Bridgerton house. And of course, Benedict is just hanging around. They do have these intense eye contacts and yearning sort of scenes. Honestly, dial it up a little more. I want to see more. You see Sophie developing a relation with Eloise and not Francesca, with Eloise and Hyacinth. Eloise's approval is quite hard to get, and it is very nice to see them have that conversation. Then we see that finally they're fighting their feelings for each other. They do have an encounter in the Great Hall and during one of the nights. He doesn't want her to go. There's a lot of chemistry going on there. Now I'll tell you what pissed me off. What pissed me off was that, sir, you are an artist. You observe things. How are you not able to realize that she is the same girl? You are literally out there in the town looking at ladies, putting a bloody filter against their lips to compare whether they're the same lips or not, and you're talking to that girl the most. You can't realize it's her. How can you not realize it's her? Now I know why it makes sense in the books, because in the books it's been 2 years since the ball, and then he meets Sophie at that estate party. But here it's just been like a couple of months. It doesn't add up. She sees Benedict talk to another girl. Now, Benedict's excuse is that he did not know that she would see them talking, which I think are pathetic. But Miss Girl is obviously pissed. Benedict tries to console her. She's like, just leave me alone. I finally found a job that I like. And honestly, how rare. But she says she's finally found a job that she likes, and she does not want Benedict to ruin it for her. And so he's like, fine, I'll get out of your hair. So while Miss Violet is serving tea and the house is all empty, we it's kind of a confusion as to whether Benedict has realized she's the Silver Lady or not, because we do see him looking at the portrait, and then there's a build up of music, and then he rushes to the Bridgerton house to meet Sophie. I don't think he's realized yet. I think he's just realized that he really loves her, or that he's really attracted to her. Then he goes. Then we have a very heated session between the two of them, which good job, give me more. We want to see more of this in the next volume. We see that, and then after all of this, Benedict says, will you be my mistress? And I was like, what? What? And the pride on his face. He looks so proud, like he's so confident, like, will you be my mistress? Like he's just said the best thing ever, and that she'll fall down on her knees and say, yes, of course. But I she runs away. I mean, I would have kind of slapped him, but that's just me. I'm just a little violent and cute that way. But she runs away, and that's where volume 1 ends. The drama and the urgency, or the high stakes vibe of the first 2 3 seasons doesn't really translate in the season, because a lot of that high stakes feeling was caused by who Lady Whistledown was. Now we kind of had that out in the open, so that is not there. There is no drama as such. So I don't really know how they'll try to create drama in this season, right? They have not done a good job in making the most of out of the bet between the Queen and Whistledown. There should have been more drama around it. There should have been more fanfare from the ton. We did not get to see that as well. So that whole high stakes feeling has kind of gone. We don't really see much of a thrill in this season. I think that's what's very different from the first 3 seasons. We do see them talk about classism, how working class and the lords and the ladies will interact, how their whole life will be. So we do see glimpses of that when Benedict and Sophie interact, or when anybody talks to Benedict, or even how Mrs. Crabtree talks to Benedict. But it's not really giving. It doesn't really feel forbidden. Knowing Lady Violet, I don't think she'll have much of a problem. She'll just be like, whatever makes my Benny happy, he can be with her. Like, that's what I think. A lot of the side characters, a lot of their stories have been fleshed out so well this season. You have much more to see of what's going on around them. Not Colin and Penelope. Like, Colin is there for 40 seconds, and I'm not complaining. What are they doing with the Montriches? I mean, why are they here? I feel nothing when they come on the screen. Can somebody make me care about them? Because I don't care right now. What is wrong? Why is Kate and why is Anthony not here? What reason do you have for keeping those two away from us? We want to see them. Why is Colin there? Why is Colin there? Because and that scene with the carriage, I mean, honestly, they really should increase their carriage driver's salary. Poor guy has been through a lot. Francesca's whole situation with the pinnacle, I think it was pretty nice. I think her husband, given the constraints of the time and everything, was very understanding. You do kind of end up liking how he tries to handle the whole thing. Now, coming to Eloise and Hyacinth, I kind of feel bad for Hyacinth as the youngest sibling, as the youngest daughter. I feel bad for Hyacinth. I mean, she is kind of pissed at Eloise, because while Eloise sitting around thinking she's better than everybody was a hoot to watch earlier, now just kind of feel bad that she's not even giving Hyacinth her time, her energy, and she is clearly excited about everything she's learning. While I understand that either Eloise could have said that you put your mind to better things, you read, you do some. No, she doesn't do that. She just makes fun of what Hyacinth is doing, and I think that's what hurts her the most. So I think Eloise needs to do a better job of being a big sister to Hyacinth in this season. What I really, really liked was the equation between the Queen and Lady Danbury. We had such a heartfelt moment of Lady Danbury, talking about how she wants to go back to the place where she was born. There's a lot of emotional, uplifting music plays, and you almost see the Queen consider it, and then she just says no, and that was really funny. I really liked that scene, and we kind of get to see more sides of the Queen and Lady Danbury's friendship. We also see how when they have a fight, that she is actually deeply hurt, and she is trying to find a replacement for her as well, because she also does not want the Queen to be alone. So just a very rich friendship, very nuanced relationship between the two of them. But even Violet's story about her having tea and how her staff helps her, that is so sweet to see. That was very nice. And yeah, those are my thoughts about the show. Do comment down below what you think, if you agree, if you disagree. And this is my second video on this channel overall. So if you have any inputs on the sound, background, light, anything, A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, do let me know. I want to talk more about the things I love, and this or the things that I think of, because I have a very obsessive personality, so I tend to go over everything in a lot of depth and detail. And I would really like to hear your inputs and talk to you down in the comments. See you soon. Bye bye.